kind single dad helped a pregnant woman at a funeral. Hours later, he learned he inherited $500 million. Some moments in life are so quiet that nobody notices them. No cameras. No applause. Just one small choice made by a tired heart. And sometimes, those moments change everything. This is a story about a single dad who thought he was doing something ordinary at a funeral. He had no idea that a few hours later, his entire life, and his son's future, would be turned upside down in a way he never imagined. Before we begin, if you enjoy real stories that restore your faith in humanity, please subscribe, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments. You're watching Heartfelt Moments, a place where kindness, courage, and hope come alive through true-to-life stories. Mark Davis was 36 years old, a single father, and permanently exhausted. His wife had passed away 3 years earlier from a sudden illness, leaving him to raise their 6-year-old son, Ethan, alone. Mark worked long shifts as a warehouse supervisor outside Columbus, Ohio. The pay wasn't great, but it was steady. Every morning, he packed Ethan's lunch. Every night, he helped with homework, even when his eyes could barely stay open. On the day this story begins, Mark was wearing a black suit that didn't quite fit anymore. It had been years since he'd worn it. He was attending the funeral of his former boss, Mr. Harold Whitman, a quiet, wealthy man who had once owned the logistics company where Mark worked in his early 20s. Mark hadn't been close to Mr. Whitman, but years ago, when Mark was struggling after his wife's diagnosis, Mr. Whitman had quietly given him extra shifts and never asked questions. When Mark heard he'd passed, he felt he owed the man his respect. The funeral hall was large and solemn, filled with expensive suits, polished shoes, and hushed conversations. Mark felt out of place. He stood near the back, holding Ethan's small hand, reminding him to stay quiet. That's when he noticed her. A young pregnant woman stood alone near the side aisle. She looked pale and overwhelmed, one hand resting on her belly, the other gripping the back of a chair. Her black dress was simple. Her shoes looked uncomfortable. Her eyes were red from crying, not loud sobs, just silent tears slipping down her cheeks. As people stood to move toward the graveside service, the woman suddenly swayed. Mark reacted without thinking. He guided Ethan to the side, stepped forward, and gently caught the woman before she fell. "Are you okay?" he whispered. She shook her head slightly. "I'm sorry. I haven't been feeling well." Mark helped her sit. He asked if she had family there. She said no. She had come alone. Mark grabbed a bottle of water from his jacket pocket, something he always carried for Ethan, and offered it to her. He told Ethan to sit beside her and keep her company while he spoke to the funeral staff. For the next hour, Mark quietly checked on her. He helped her outside for fresh air. He made sure she had a seat during the service. When she apologized again and again, Mark simply smiled and said, "You don't need to apologize. We all need help sometimes." Before leaving, she thanked him with tears in her eyes. "My name is Claire," she said softly. "I'll never forget this." Mark nodded politely, took Ethan's hand, and went home. He didn't give it another thought. That evening, after dinner and bath time, Mark was sitting at the kitchen table helping Ethan color a school worksheet when his phone rang. Unknown number. He almost ignored it. "Hello?" he answered. "May I speak with Mark Davis?" the voice asked. "This is him." "Mr. Davis, my name is Robert Klein. I'm an attorney representing the estate of Harold Whitman." Mark's heart skipped. "Okay. There's something we need to discuss with you. Preferably in person." Mark assumed it was a mistake. Maybe a form. Maybe a question about his past employment. The next morning, Mark walked into a law office that looked like something from a movie. Polished wood. Tall windows. Leather chairs. He felt uncomfortable in his worn jacket. The attorney sat across from him and took a deep breath. "Mr. Whitman left behind a will," he said. "And in that will, your name appears." Mark laughed nervously. I think you have the wrong person. The attorney slid a document across the desk. Mr. Whitman had left the majority of his estate, valued at over $500 million, to a trust. And Mark Davis was listed as the primary beneficiary. Mark couldn't breathe. There must be some mistake, he whispered. The attorney shook his head. Mr. Whitman amended his will recently. He wrote a personal letter explaining his decision. The attorney read it aloud. Mr. Whitman wrote about watching Mark years ago, how he worked hard, never complained, and always put his son first. He wrote about respect, integrity, and kindness. Then came the final line. Yesterday, I watched from a distance as Mark Davis helped a pregnant woman at my own funeral service. He did not know who she was. He did not know who I was to her. And he did not ask for recognition. That moment confirmed what I already believed. This is a man I trust to do good with what I leave behind. Mark's hands were shaking. The pregnant woman, Claire, was Mr. Whitman's granddaughter. She had insisted on attending alone, against her family's wishes. Mr. Whitman had noticed Mark's kindness in his final hours at the funeral hall before being taken away earlier that day. Mark left the office in shock. In the months that followed, his life changed completely, but not in the way people might expect. He paid off debts. He set up college funds. He bought a modest home. He started a foundation to support single parents and expecting mothers with no family support. He didn't quit being kind. He became more of it. When asked why, Mark always said the same thing. I didn't help her because I thought something would happen. I helped her because it was the right thing to do. And that's the real lesson of this story. Kindness doesn't need an audience. It doesn't need a reward. But sometimes, just sometimes, it comes back in ways we could never imagine. So the next time you see someone struggling, remember Mark. A small act of kindness might not change the whole world. But it could change someone's entire life, including your own.